I remember the exact moment I realized my husband wanted me dead. Not suspected, not wondered, knew. It was in a hospital room that smelled like disinfectant and fear. The doctor had just left after delivering news that made my world collapse. 3 days, maybe less. My body was shutting down, and they didn't know why. I was crying, shaking, terrified, and then I felt his hands slide into mine. I looked up, expecting comfort, expecting my partner of 5 years to tell me we'd fight this together. Instead, he smiled. Not a sad smile, not a sympathetic smile, a relieved smile. He leaned close, squeezed my hand and whispered, "Only 3 days. Finally, everything's mine." Then he kissed my forehead and left to make some calls. That's when I knew. And that's when I did something that would expose a truth so dark it still keeps me up at night. This is that story. Let me back up 6 months. I started feeling off. Little things at first. Exhaustion that coffee couldn't fix. Nausea that came in waves. My hair was falling out in the shower, more than usual. I bruised if you looked at me wrong. My husband kept saying I was working too hard. I'm a commercial real estate developer. I'd built my business from nothing into something worth over $8 million. Stress came with the territory. "You need to slow down," he'd say, making me herbal tea every morning. "Let me take care of you." He was so attentive, so concerned, making me smoothies, cooking dinner, insisting I rest. I thought I was lucky to have someone who cared so much. Then the nosebleeds started. Random, violent nosebleeds that wouldn't stop. That's when I finally went to the doctor. They ran tests. So many tests. Blood work, scans, biopsies. The doctor's face got more concerned with each result. When she finally sat us both down, I knew it was bad. "Your blood cell counts are critically low. Your organs are showing signs of failure. We need to admit you immediately." I couldn't breathe. What is it?" She hesitated. "We're still determining the exact cause, but your symptoms are consistent with acute systemic poisoning or a rapidly progressing blood disorder. Without intervention, we're looking at 72 hours, maybe less." The room spun. My husband stood up abruptly. "I need air," he said, and walked out. I sat there alone for what felt like hours but was probably 15 minutes. Processing, panicking, calling family members with shaking hands. Then he came back. He walked in slowly, looked at me lying in that hospital bed, and something crossed his face. Something I'd never seen before. Relief. He sat down, took my hand, and that's when he said it. "Only 3 days. Finally, everything's mine." I froze. "What?" He seemed to catch himself, plastered on a concerned expression. I said, "Only 3 days to figure this out. We need to get everything in order. Your will, your business affairs, just in case." But I heard what he said the first time. I heard it perfectly. And I saw that smile. The hospital night, 8 to 10:30, they admitted me immediately. Hooked me up to IVs, monitors, and the works. My husband stayed for an hour, pacing, checking his phone constantly. Then he said he needed to go home, grab some things for me, and make arrangements. "I'll be back first thing in the morning," he promised, kissing my forehead. The moment he left, I burst into tears. Not from the diagnosis, from that whisper, from that smile. A nurse came in, an older woman with kind eyes. She held my hand while I cried. "Honey, what's wrong, beyond the obvious?" I don't know why I told her. Maybe because I thought I was dying anyway. Maybe because she was a stranger. I think my husband is happy I'm dying." She didn't laugh. She didn't dismiss it. She just looked at me for a long moment and said, "Trust your gut. Women's intuition exists for a reason." Then she did something unexpected. She handed me her personal cell phone. "You make whatever calls you need to make. I'll tell anyone who asks that you're sleeping." The first person I called was our housekeeper. She'd worked for us for 6 years. I trusted her more than almost anyone. "I need you to do something for me," I whispered into the phone. And I need you to not tell my husband. Silence. Then, what do you need? I need you to go to his office, the one at home that he keeps locked. I need you to look for anything unusual. Documents, papers. I don't know what exactly. Just anything that seems wrong. Another pause. Longer this time. Mrs. She started, then stopped. I've been wanting to talk to you about something for a long time. I've been too scared. But if you're asking me to look, then you already suspect. My heart pounded. Suspect what? I've seen things, heard things. I didn't want to believe them, but I'll call you back in an hour. She hung up. Those 60 minutes were the longest of my life. When she called back, her voice was shaking. I got into his office, and I found so much. She'd taken photos of everything on her phone. As she described them, I felt my blood turn to ice. A life insurance policy, $3 million, taken out 18 months ago. I never signed it, but there was my signature. Almost perfect. Almost. Bank statements for an account I didn't know existed. Regular transfers from our joint account. Over $200,000 moved in the past year. Love letters. Printed emails between him and someone named S. Going back 3 years. Talking about our future. And, once we're free. And, just a little longer. We'd been married for 5 years. He'd been planning this for 3. But the worst thing, the thing that made me actually vomit into the hospital basin, was a folder labeled Research. Inside were printouts. Medical articles about untraceable poisons. Symptoms of arsenic poisoning. How certain pesticides mimic natural illnesses. Forums discussing inheritance acceleration. And a purchase receipt from 8 months ago for industrial-grade arsenic-based pesticides shipped to our home address. There's one more thing, she whispered. I've been suspicious for a while. I'm so sorry I didn't say anything sooner, but I started taking photos of your morning smoothies before you drink them. What? Why? Because I saw him 3 months ago. I came in early one morning and saw him in the kitchen. He didn't know I was there. He was wearing gloves. He took something from a small bottle and mixed it into your smoothie. Then he washed the blender 3 times. 3 times. People don't do that unless they're hiding something. I couldn't speak. I was scared. He's always been intense, cold. I was afraid if I said something and I was wrong, he'd fire me. Or worse, my family depends on this job. I'm so sorry. Send me everything, I managed to say. Every photo, every document, send it all to my lawyer's email. I gave her the address. What are you going to do? I don't know yet. But I'm not dying in 3 days. Next call, my lawyer, a woman I'd worked with for 10 years building my business, sharp as a knife and loyal to the core. I told her everything. Send her the photos as they came through. She was silent for a full minute after I finished. I'm calling the police right now, she finally said. No, not yet. What do you mean, not yet? This man is trying to murder you. And if we call the police now, what do we have? Circumstantial evidence. A forged signature he can claim I forgot about. Research he can say was for a novel. Photos of him making smoothies. His lawyer will tear it apart. So what do you want to do? I want to catch him. I want him on record. I want a confession. She inhaled sharply. That's dangerous. He thinks I'm dying. He thinks he's won. People get careless when they think they've won. Okay, she said slowly. Okay. But we're doing this my way. I'm getting you the best criminal defense attorney I know. We're documenting everything. And we're getting you out of that hospital and somewhere safe. I can't just leave. The doctors. I'm handling the doctors. I'm going to request a private medical evaluation. We need to know what's actually in your system. She worked fast. Within 3 hours, I was transferred to a private room under a different name. A toxicologist came in, a no-nonsense woman who drew what felt like gallons of blood. We're going to run a full heavy metal panel, she explained. If someone's been poisoning you systematically, it'll show up. The results came back faster than I expected. She sat down next to my bed, her expression grim. "You don't have a blood disorder," she said. "You have chronic heavy metal poisoning, primarily arsenic, with traces of thallium. Whoever's been doing this has been dosing you carefully enough to make you sick, but not enough to kill you quickly. They've been breaking down your system slowly over months." I should have felt vindicated. Instead, I just felt sick. How long do I actually have? With chelation therapy, we can reverse most of this. You'll make a full recovery. But if you'd continued ingesting the poison for another few weeks, she trailed off, you would have died. And without this specific testing, it would have looked like organ failure from an unknown illness. How long until I'm better? Chelation takes time, but you'll start feeling improvements within days. The question is, what are you going to tell your husband? I smiled for the first time in days. I'm going to tell him I'm dying faster than expected. Here's what we did. My lawyer arranged for me to be released back home for end-of-life comfort care. The hospital played along, creating discharge papers that said my condition had deteriorated. Meanwhile, our housekeeper installed hidden cameras throughout the house, in the kitchen, the bedroom, his office, everywhere. My lawyer's criminal contact got us audio recording devices that looked like regular objects. A pen, a picture frame, a charging station, and I practiced. God, I practiced. How to look weak. How to seem resigned to death. How to play the dying wife. The plan was simple. Make him feel safe. Make him think he'd won. And wait for him to slip up on camera. My husband picked me up from the hospital 2 days after my transfer. He seemed lighter. I'm almost happy. "I'm so sorry, baby," he said, helping me to the car. "But we'll make these last days count." I leaned against him, playing weak. "I'm scared. I know. But I'm here. I'll take care of everything." Everything. That word made my skin crawl. That first night home, he made me dinner. "Soup," he said, to keep my strength up. I watched him in the kitchen through the new cameras on my phone. I watched him take out that same small bottle. I watched him add a few drops to my bowl. I ate it in front of him, every spoonful. Then I excused myself to the bathroom and threw it all up silently while running the faucet. When I came back, he was smiling. "Feel better?" "A little," I lied. "Tired though." "Rest. I'll clean up." I went to bed, and through the camera, I watched him in the kitchen. He washed that bowl 3 times, just like our housekeeper said. Then he made a phone call. "It's me," he said. "Yeah? Any day now." "The doctor said her organs are failing." I know. Just a little longer." "No. She changed her will last year, but I'm the sole beneficiary. Everything's in order. Life insurance pays out 60 days after death. Then we're free. Finally free." He talked for 20 minutes. Making plans. Talking about selling my business. About a house they'd buy together. About trips they'd take. About my funeral. What kind of service to have to look appropriately grief-stricken. I recorded every word. Over the next 3 days, I documented everything. Him adding poison to my food and drinks, 6 times captured on camera. Phone calls with his mistress. 11 conversations. Him logging into my laptop to check my bank accounts. Him taking my jewelry to appraise it. He was selling it. Him forging my signature on more documents. But the moment I was waiting for came on day 3. He thought I was sleeping. I'd pretended to take my medication, which I'd been spitting out and keeping as evidence. He sat next to me on the bed. I kept my breathing slow and steady. And he started talking. To himself. Or to me. I don't know. "I really thought you'd last longer," he said softly. "You've always been so strong. But I guess even the strong ones break eventually." Pause. "You know, part of me actually feels bad. You were good to me. Better than I deserved. But you had everything and I had nothing. You made me feel small. Made me feel like I'd never be enough." Another pause. "And then I met her. And she made me feel powerful. Like I could be the man I was supposed to be. But she's expensive. And your money, your business. That's my ticket. That's how I finally won. He touched my face. I hope you don't suffer much longer. I'm not a monster. I just want what's mine. And in a few more hours, everything will be mine. Everything. He kissed my forehead. Goodbye, baby. You made this too easy. I kept my eyes closed until he left the room. Then I opened them and looked directly at the hidden camera. Got it, I whispered. The next morning, he brought me breakfast in bed. More poison, undoubtedly. How are you feeling? He asked, all concerned. Weak, I said, which was half true. The chelation therapy was working, but the emotional exhaustion was real. Can you call the lawyer? I want to make sure everything's in order. For after, his eyes lit up. Just for a second. But I saw it. Of course, baby. I'll call him right now. No, I said. I want to do it together. This afternoon. I want you here when we go over everything. He hesitated. Are you sure you're strong enough? I need to do this, please. It's important to me that you know. That you're taken care of. That smile again. That relieved, greedy smile. Okay, I'll set it up. 2 o'clock? Perfect. What he didn't know, my lawyer wasn't coming alone. She was bringing the police, the toxicologist, a detective who specialized in domestic homicide attempts, and a prosecutor. We had everything. 48 hours of video evidence, recorded confessions, financial records, the forged insurance documents, the poison itself, which our housekeeper had retrieved and had tested. We had him. At 1:45, I heard cars pull up. Multiple cars. He was in the kitchen making me lunch. More poison, probably. The doorbell rang. I'll get it, he called cheerfully. He opened the door, expecting my lawyer. Instead, there were 6 people, including 2 uniformed officers. I heard his voice from the bedroom. What's going on? My lawyer's voice cold and professional. We have a warrant for your arrest. What? For what? Attempted murder. Fraud. Forgery. Insurance fraud. Should I go on? This is insane. I haven't. We have video evidence of you poisoning your wife's food 43 times over the past 3 days. We have recorded confessions. We have the poison itself, with your fingerprints. We have financial evidence of systematic theft from joint accounts. And we have testimony from multiple witnesses. Silence. Then she's lying. She's manipulating all of you. She's the one who... She's standing right behind you. I'd gotten out of bed. Weak, yes, but standing. Very much alive. He turned and saw me. The color drained from his face. You were supposed to. Die? I finished. I know, you tried so hard. I didn't, this isn't. Only 3 days, right? That's what you said. Finally, everything's yours. He actually stumbled backward. You heard that? I heard everything. Every phone call, every confession, every drop of poison you put in my food while you smiled and told me you loved me. One of the officers stepped forward with handcuffs. Sir, you need to come with us. That's when he snapped. You don't understand. He screamed. You had everything. The business, the money, the house. And what did I have? Nothing. I was just your husband. Just the guy who lived in your shadow. I loved you, I said quietly. I would have given you anything you asked for. I didn't want it given, he shouted. I wanted it to be mine. I wanted to be successful. I wanted people to know my name instead of always being her husband. So you decided to kill me. He laughed. Actually, I laughed. A broken, horrible sound. You were dying anyway. The poison was just speeding things up, making it easier. The detective spoke up. Sir, you need to stop talking. But he couldn't. It all came pouring out. How he'd researched for months. How he'd met his mistress at a conference 2 years ago, and they'd planned this together. How he'd slowly increased the dosage, calibrating it to make me sick but not suspicious. How he'd forged documents, moved money, built his escape plan. how he'd actually enjoyed watching me get weaker. It was supposed to be perfect, he said, almost to himself. Slow, natural, no one would question it. And I'd be free, finally free with enough money to be someone. They put handcuffs on him. As they walked him toward the door, he looked back at me one last time. I almost loved you, he said. That's the worst part. I almost did. I actually did, I replied. That's my worst part. They took him away. The trial took 8 months. During that time, I did chelation therapy 3 times a week. The poison slowly left my system. My hair grew back. The bruising stopped. My strength returned. Our housekeeper testified. She broke down on the stand, apologizing over and over for not speaking up sooner. I told her afterward that I understood. Fear makes us do things. Or not do things. His mistress, her name was Simone, was arrested as an accessory. She tried to claim she didn't know about the poisoning, but her text messages told a different story. She'd even suggested specific poisons that were harder to detect. They'd met on a forum for people planning to inherit early. That's when the detective told me something that made my blood run cold. This might not have been his first time. They were investigating the death of his college girlfriend 12 years ago. She died of sudden organ failure at age 24, right after changing her will to include him. He was convicted on all counts. 25 years to life. No possibility of parole for 20 years. The judge gave a statement I'll never forget. You didn't just attempt to murder your wife's body. You murdered her trust, her safety, her ability to feel secure in her own home. You turned the most intimate parts of her life, her food, her bed, her husband, into weapons. That is a violation beyond measure. Simone got 15 years. When they asked me if I wanted to give a victim impact statement, I almost declined. What could I say that would matter? But then I decided I needed to say it. For me, I stood in that courtroom, looked at the man I'd once loved, and I said, "You told me I made it too easy, that I handed you everything you needed to try to kill me. But here's what you didn't count on. I built a business from nothing. I survived every attempt to tear me down in a male-dominated industry. I learned to trust my instincts because they've kept me alive in boardrooms full of people who wanted to see me fail. So when you whispered only 3 days and smiled, my instincts screamed danger. And I listened. You thought I was weak. You thought I'd just lie down and die quietly while you cashed in. But I did something you never expected. I fought back. I documented everything. I built a case. I survived. You wanted everything that was mine. My money. My house. But here's what you actually got. Nothing. And I'm still here. Alive. Stronger. Rebuilding. You failed. And that's the only inheritance you'll ever have. I walked out of that courtroom and didn't look back. It's been 2 years now. I sold the house. Too many ghosts. My business is thriving. Turns out, nearly dying puts things in perspective. I know what matters now. Our housekeeper still works for me. She's family now. We don't talk about what happened unless she needs to. I'm in therapy. Probably will be for a long time. That's okay. Some days are harder than others. I still have nightmares about that smile. About those 3 words. Everything's mine. But then I woke up, and I'm alive. And everything's mine. My life. My future. My peace. He couldn't take that. No one can. If there's anything I want you to take from this story, it's this. Trust your gut, even when it seems impossible, even when everyone else would think you're paranoid or crazy. That whisper saved my life. That instinct saved my life. Listen to yours. Because sometimes the most dangerous person in your life is the one who's supposed to love you most. And sometimes survival means doing something they never expect. Fighting back. Thanks for joining here again at Laura Stories. I see you in the next one.